Hello everybody, welcome to Snyder's Inc. And today, we're doing some That Chapter. And this one is, these teens committed the most evil acts. And we're gonna find out what this is about. Ladies and gentlemen, I need y'all to hit the like button, hit subscribe button, comment what you think down below. Are you guys ready? Of course you're ready. Let's go.
Having fun in a cop car.
Yep. Tristan.
What's up, guys?
I don't know what to say.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. After
Day
learning
Park, guys. Tripping, dude.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this whole video we go to Florida, because of course we do, to St. Johns County, which is on the, northern side of the state, when, in 2021, a teen went missing on Mother's Day. Her parents, and her family, they'd gotten up that morning, but when they went to check on her, she wasn't in her bed. She wasn't even in the house, and she wasn't the type to sneak out of the house. A search began for the missing teen, and it would be revealed that she had in fact gone out with a fellow classmate the night before, but she hadn't returned. And that fellow classmate, though only 14 years of age, would prove himself to be one sick puppy. It's hard to really put it any other way. Let's give it a go!
Let's. Come on, chapter. Give it to me.
So this story takes us to a suburb just south of Jacksonville, a place called St. John's. This is a suburby area, the houses are big and beautiful, it's a family place, home to a number of schools, parks, and that sort of thing. It's leafy, but if you're in the mood for concretey, it is halfway between Jacksonville and historic St. Augustine. And that is where 13-year-old Tristan Bailey lived.
Nice looking chick. Just saying, nice looking chick.
She lived there with her mother, her father, and her 4 siblings, Brittany, Alexis, Sophia, and Tegan. And they were the Bailey 7. Tristan was the youngest of the children, born in January 2008 to parents Stacy and Forrest. And she was described by her family as a real go-getter, someone who always gave 100%, whether it was as part of the cheerleading squad or helping an injured kitten. She was carefree and she didn't mind
Good old cheerleader.
what people thought of her. She always did, what was right, which, when you're in middle school can be, at that age, can be, doing what's right and not caring about what other people think of you can be quite a difficult thing to do. In May of 2021, Tristan Bailey was in 8th grade at Patriot Oaks Academy.
People in school want to get along and want everyone to care about what all think of them. They all say they don't. But I can tell you they do. They all do. Eat them alive, they want it so badly.
School only a few minutes drive from her home on Cloister Bain Drive. And on a weekend in early May, the family had been out all that Saturday, doing bits and bobs. They went to see the older child at their house before returning close to midnight that Saturday night. Everyone was in fine form. Tristan, she seemed like she was in a grand mood, and everything was good, and then she headed off to bed. And that was that. Now, the following morning, May 9th, that is when our story really begins. That Sunday, the family were due to have breakfast together. It was Mother's Day. Nice. So they were going to spend the day with, well, It was at 9:40 a.m. that one of Tristan's siblings went, to lock her. And by this stage, Tristan should have been up and they were all ready to sit down. So she went, knocked on the door, called out, opened the door. Tristan wasn't there. She wasn't in bed. She wasn't in the room. Forrest and Stacy were then, alerted, and they checked the other rooms in the house. They checked outside the house. Maybe she had gotten up earlier, or had gone out and done something sometime. But she wasn't anywhere. They called her. They called her repeatedly, because her phone wasn't in the room, but every time they called, it went straight to voicemail. It was then at 10 a.m. that her mother, Stacy, called 911 to report her youngest daughter missing.
I guarantee you police won't take it as a serious thing because it's happened and kids sneak out all the time and so they're not gonna take it as a big deal. Guarantee you that's what happens.
The location data services like Snapchat, which shows where you are, nothing. It was all off. It was like she had just disappeared. The police immediately sprang into action. Missing persons information shared, alerts went out, everything.
That's shocking to me. That is shocking. 'Cause what we've known about these police is like, they take, usually their thought is, yo, young girl, people run away all the time, it's probably not big of a deal. I guess probably because she was 13, maybe they took it as a bit more serious, I guess. Yeah, this was, it's a good thing. I'm not mad at them for the fact they took it serious. They usually never do, so I was shocked.
Thing that could be done right off the bat when no one knows where a 13-year-old girl is. Now, the police learned on that 911 call that Tristan had recently been hanging out with friends, local friends in the neighborhood. So, that's where the police went to speak with local friends in the neighborhood, and they began with one Duffus Trey Absher III. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I would go with Trey too. Duffus, like, really? It's so close to Doofus, and he was Duffus Trey III, as in, like, the parents didn't learn from the first and the second one. So, the police went to speak with him, and he said, yeah, Tristan had been with him that night, the previous night. Tristan had snuck out just after midnight and had made the 10-minute walk to Trey's house. She'd gone there, according to the police report, and she'd snuck around the north side of the house to avoid security cameras at the Absher home. Trey's dad had no idea anyone was at the house that night. Trey wasn't even allowed to have friends over, as he was currently being punished, but apparently he would sneak out. He knew where the cameras were too, so he would sneak out of the house, like, all the time. And then when the police were speaking with Trey about, you know, what was she doing that night, so she'd snuck out of the house, and then what? Where's she now? Well, the police learned that she had not been alone. She had been with a fellow classmate from Patriot Oaks Academy, 14-year-old Aiden Fucci. He too lived in the area, maybe a 25-30 minute walk, and as I said, they all attended the same school. So Trey said, you know, they were chilling at the home, they were smoking some reefer, and then they left together. Well, Tristan and Aiden left together at around 1 a.m. They didn't stay terribly long. They were there for maybe half an hour. So the next stop was Fucci Plaza. And he, you know, just like Trey said, yeah, we were hanging out there, we were chilling, and then we left at about 1 a.m. Himself and Tristan, they started walking back together. You know, they walked back together, and then she made the turn for Cloister Bay Drive towards her home. He kept going on himself. He said he got home at about 3 a.m., which immediately struck the police as odd, because he lived about 30 minutes away, and he left at 1 a.m. He's missing about an hour here. Then he was like,
They missed an hour, missed like 2 hours. If you live at 1, that's like 2 hours or just so that you just not existent.
Forgot to mention here. Slipped my mind, silly goose over here. They continued walking together past her turn, and then at one point, Tristan, he said, grabbed his dick. He was like, what the shit? He pushed her off him. She went flying, she cracked her head off the concrete, and then he kept walking. He said that because he was a little high, he didn't know if she got up or not, but he continued walking and eventually ended up back at home after taking the scenic route. He said, I don't know where she went, but you know, she's been hanging out with this like local drug dealer named Carlo lately, so maybe that's where she went. Carlo was presumably the guy they got the weed off, and Trey would say the same, that he thought maybe she had gone to hang out with him. Now, during the initial questioning of Aiden Fucci, you know, he was patted down by
He looks he already acted. That's already suspicious. I don't like it. Always sounds suspicious.
By a deputy who, when he was patting Aiden down, he found a knife, a folding knife, which he had. Aiden had it in his pocket. He was like, he had to look at it. He had to look at a folding knife. A 14-year-old boy who's being questioned about a missing girl. He had it, and he had to look at it. I don't see anything wrong here. He gave it immediately to Aiden's dad, Jason. Sounds like something you might want to have held on to.
Yeah, that sounds like something you might want to keep track of. But I mean, what this is police, right? Like, I'm doing their job. It's very, very shocking.
Just for a second. It was then that these messages did the rounds, presumably taken when Aiden was first questioned.
We're having fun. In a f***ing...
Interesting that people are like looking at it. They're like, you know what happened to her? What'd you do to her? Like, everyone knows you were the last one with her, so you can't just pretend like you don't know. You're getting suspicious, my friend.
Cop car.
Yep. Tristan.
What's up, guys?
Yep.
Tristan, if you f***ing walk out the damn...
When you see this in a month,
It's in a cop car, cuz. Tripping, dude.
Glad to see he was taking it so seriously though, am I right? The friend he's with remains unnamed. A 14-year-old with Manson lamps. That's a new one. It was at this point that Aiden's phone was seized, as in, kind of, enough of that, enough of that, carry on. Stop that now. And throughout the day, various attempts to locate Tristan's phone were made, and it did lead to a heavily wooded area not far from her home. But, I mean, the radius was 2,500 meters, so you'll be looking there for a bit. And the signals which came from there were historical, meaning it wasn't, actively sending out any location signals. They did discover that the last incoming call to Tristan's phone had come from Aiden Fucci also, at about 25 minutes past midnight. Well, that was the last time it appeared she'd answered. There were no more calls made to Tristan's phone until 9:40 AM, after which there were a hell of a lot more phone calls made. And this Carlo guy, who, Tristan allegedly hung out with, he was also tracked down with great difficulty. I mean, he's like a little weed dealer, so he probably doesn't want to be tracked down too well, but the police were able to question him over the phone, and they were able to exclude him from the investigation pretty quickly. And finally, then at 6 minutes past 6...
I mean, Aiden looks like the most suspicious out of everyone here. I'm not shocked that they keep probably looking at him. He's very suspicious.
On the 9th of May, this is all taking place over one day. A call came in from a man named Daniel, who had been out for a run that evening, and he had found a deceased body.
This was an exhausting search by the neighborhood, by the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office. We have located a body that is preliminarily identified as Tristan Bailey.
It was in the area where the historical phone signals were coming from, and it was Tristan Bailey. She was found laying on the woody ground and was covered in sharp force injury wounds, hands, arms, neck, and injuries to the back also. Likely she'd been attacked from behind, turned and tried to defend herself, and, well, her phone was with her. The police immediately went back to Aiden, and Aiden, who had already been advised of his rights, and they essentially locked down his house security with crime scene tape, said, "This is it." And this footage was discovered, showing Aiden and Tristan walking together after leaving Trey's house. You'll see the time there. There's actually like an hour and a half delay, so the actual time of this footage is 1:46 AM. Then, about an hour and a half later, Aiden was seen running in the opposite direction. This was at 3:27 AM. And remember that knife? The one, the deputy had found on Aiden, thought nothing of it, and then immediately gave it to Jason, Aiden's father. Well, they were like, "Could you have that knife back? Could we have it back, please?" Jason said that after he'd been given it, he left it on the bumper of his car, forgot it was there, and then drove off. So it must have fallen off. And the police went to look for it. They never found it. So Aiden was taken to the station for questioning while his house was being searched. His father Jason and his mother Crystal were there with him, and he was saying, he was denying to his own parents that yep, no, I didn't do anything to her, I just went straight home. At which point, Crystal was like, yeah, this is about the dead girl who was found. To which Aiden responded, "How is that my problem? It's about to become your fucking problem, you little shithead."
The Snapchat that you gave his number is small.
No, now we have people on the phone in our house now, in our car stuff. Because of that Snapchat thing you did. It's all over, you're all over the internet and everywhere. Social media.
It's on social media. They'll probably come stay with me after we get done with this. Just for your well safe being.
Then she just kept walking.
I don't know.
Do you know if she turned the other direction or she was just still walking behind you?
She pushed it down and you walk away. We shouldn't be talking.
I just asked what he's going to call us. I just asked what he told them.
You walked away, you came straight home, you didn't turn back around and see where she went?
Did she really grab you and you just really pushed her, or was that?
No, she did. You don't know what happened to her after you pushed her?
Did she say ow or be mad?
She said Aiden. She was like, Aiden? Leaving a 13-year-old girl by herself in the middle of the streets at 3 o'clock in the morning, or whatever time, is not smart, right? Walking home with her in the middle of the night, that wasn't smart either. You stay away from females.
I mean, we know he did it because they're talking about him. This guy does look like an absolute F-boy, though. Tell me he does not look like an F-boy. Come on. Oh, God.
Anything could happen. Did you kiss her this night? This last night?
Right, Trey's house. On walk.
Aiden denied doing anything to her to his parents when they asked about what happened. He maintained the story about her grabbing him pushing her away, and then leaving, walking alone for a time. At 3:30 a.m., Aiden Fucci was charged with second-degree murder, charged as an adult, based on a number of factors, including him changing his story, the CCTV of them both walking towards where she would eventually be found, and some items with blood were discovered hidden in his bedroom. He would plead not guilty, and the charge would later be upped to first-degree murder. Tristan Bailey was found to have a total of 114 stab wounds and cutting wounds on her.
Oh my god! How much anger do you have to have towards someone to do over 100 stab wounds on someone? How much anger do you have to have towards that person? That is absolutely insane, man. Oh my god.
This was horrific, what happened to her. And what that was done with was also found in a pond in that wooded area, just 140 feet from where Tristan was located. A folding knife and the blade was bent and fractured. So Aiden was arrested and he was charged with this. But a little bit more was found.
Detectives say it's Fucci's mom washing blood off of his jeans.
When the police searched the Fucci house after Tristan was located, CCTV of inside the home was found. So Aiden did come home at around 3:30 a.m. Then, the next morning, police came to speak with him when they learned he had been with Tristan the night before. But when they left, Crystal walked into Aiden's room and retrieved a pair of jeans which she scrubbed the shit out of. She seemed very upset. Those jeans and that sink would later come back positive for blood. Crystal, Aiden's mother, would be, about a month later, charged with tampering with evidence. She would plead not guilty.
What's going on? I don't want to hate you demons. I don't want to hate you demons take my soul. You demons want to take my soul away. I don't want to let you demons take.
Jesus Christ, he looks like he's not all there. He does not look all there. My god. So I gotta check my phone. There's wrestling stuff going on. I gotta keep track of it. But this is insanity.
Take my soul. I don't know what's going on. I see him first. What's going on? What we got going on? Why am I here? I just want to talk to my mom and dad. What's going on? What's going on?
His acting was just top notch. Have you tried not acting like a little bitch? When others, like classmates, were questioned, they were basically like, yeah, he's a psycho who talked about murdering people like a lot. Saying shit like, it would be satisfying to watch the blood drain out of a body. Would it now? He talked about killing, biting, slitting throats, and would do stabbing motions with his hands all the time.
Oh yeah, he'd kill her. He's a killer. He's a killer. Unfortunately, someone died, but he'd be a serial killer. He'd be the one trying to rack up the bodies. That's what he'd do.
He had two knives, picker and poker. The murder weapon was poker.
Aiden kept knives for protection. He always had a knife on him if he wasn't at school.
I mean, Aiden has said, like, some messed up stuff to me, like, to Zophie, saying he was gonna do things, but you don't really take any of that stuff serious as coming from a teenager. Like, he said, like, his knife, he wanted to, like, slit somebody's throat, and, like, he said it'd be satisfying. He's talked about killing people, he's talked about fighting people.
A premeditated murder fueled by jealousy. That's how Aiden Fucci's friend describes the death of 13-year-old Tristan Bailey.
Fucci's friend told the deputy he believes the crime was 100% premeditated.
A notebook was also found in his room depicting drawings of a violent nature, allegedly. Like a naked woman's body with red X's over the breasts and the genitals, and like severed limbs. Satanic shit. Like just grotesque drawings, I guess. Maybe what was in his head. And in prison, he was like full on. He had to be put into solitary because he would apparently attack and threaten other inmates. Now, I think that's probably just, you know, being like a kid. And he was put in like, I mean, he was 14 years old. And he was put in like jail. It's probably like, you know, trying to act tough. But apparently, like, he would fight even the guards. They had to pepper spray him numerous times and like strap him to a chair and shit. Fucking nutbar. He was due to go on trial in February 2023, but right before it was supposed to happen, he changed his plea and pleaded guilty to the first-degree murder of Tristan Bailey. There was no plea deal, no negotiation. It just happened.
Sir, please state your name.
Aiden Sean Fucci.
Mr. Fucci, how old are you, sir?
16.
How far did you go in school?
To 8th grade.
Are you able to read, write, speak, and understand the English language?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Fucci just wanted to make a short statement.
I just want to say I plead not guilty. And that I'm sorry for the Bailey family and my family.
Okay. I'm sure that there'll be an opportunity, obviously, at sentencing hearing to speak again at that time. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Fucci, having entered a plea of guilty to the crime of first-degree murder, I adjudicate you guilty of the premeditated first-degree murder of Tristan Bailey. I sentence you to life in prison. Because of your age, you are eligible for review of the sentence in 25 years. I order the Department of Corrections to notify you when you are eligible to apply for your review hearing. Madam Clerk, if you will please impose the minimum fines and court costs.
The case against his mother, Chris.
So he got life. He's got sentenced to life, but after 25 years, he's able to get a new trial because of his age. Interesting.
Crystal Smith for, you know, that evidence tampering of her washing his jeans. That's still pending. And now, from Florida to Nevada we go, involving another, now we got another story involving teens being evil monsters. Like, there's really no two ways about it when people who aren't even fully developed yet are gonna go and commit doing the unthinkable. It's like, what were you gonna grow up to be? Other than an inmate. Yikes. But I mean, that's the thing with teens, they tend to be not the smartest or the most experienced, that, you know, avoiding getting caught. I mean, Aiden Fucci, the evidence against him was pretty overwhelming about what he did and how he did it. He was definitely whelmed. I'll say that for him. I mean, he was caught literally the day of. But these two sick bastards, they decided to broadcast what they were doing, so they really got what was...
I know this next story. I know this next story because Mr. Ballin did a video on this story. I don't think I've reacted to it yet because I don't... But I do know what this story is. And it is absolutely heartbreaking and insane. I don't know how far he'll go into it, but Jesus.
What was coming to them. To begin with our second story, we really have to talk about a marriage and its disintegration. And that was the marriage between Daniel Halstead and Elizabeth Schwarak. Daniel and Elizabeth were both originally from Oregon. Elizabeth from Salem, Daniel from Estacada. Both just south of Portland, about an hour away from each other. And Daniel was 7 years older than Elizabeth. They married in 2001 and moved to Nevada 5 years later, where Elizabeth would run for Nevada Assembly and later go on to campaign and win a Senate position.
Thank you all so much for coming today. It's wonderful to see you all.
Becoming, at 27, the youngest woman in Nevada to be elected to the Nevada legislature. Well, look at you. Together, they would have 3 children, Dana, Jordan, and Sierra, but things would really hit the rocks, my friends, in 2011. In 2011, there were some domestic violence incidents at the home. Daniel, he would be indicted on 2 felony counts, coercion and battery, which he would plead guilty to. It seems that they had become estranged Over time, Daniel and Elizabeth would later resign as they were estranged. She would resign, citing being a single mother, while Daniel was claiming in the divorce proceedings that she was having an extramarital affair. So, that'll do it.
Hi guys, Elizabeth here from the Tiger Helgeling Group.
Elizabeth would go on to marry Tiger Helgelian, and together they would form Tiger and Elizabeth, a real estate business in Las Vegas. Daniel, in the meantime, himself would go on to work as an IT specialist, ending up in Dallas for a time, before coming back to Nevada to be close with his children. Elizabeth was granted primary custody, something he would dispute in 2020.
Daniel and his home isn't a healthy one. He has clearly been bashing me and speaking negatively about me and lying to Sierra.
It feels like reality TV every time I hear Elizabeth speak.
Daniel was fairly active on social media. He was living a decent life by all accounts at this point. He'd post lots of inspirational content, videos with the kids, document his fitness journeys and all that.
Hello friends, over here in Rhode Island, checking out the scene, sporting it out, hitting a hard little bit of windy up here, but little wind up here, but it's just so great. And the weather's been perfect. The flowers are in bloom. You can tell spring's approaching, and all the architecture is pretty cool. A lot of brick, a lot of canals in the area, and a lot of history, which is pretty cool. Just checking it out.
And would go on to marry again a woman named Bogdana. However, that marriage, again, wouldn't last. After about 7 years of marriage in 2019, they would divorce. And so, once again, the trouble really began when their youngest daughter, Sierra, 16 years old at the time, she began dating an 18-year-old named Aaron Guerrero. See, they'd begun dating in June of 2020. They'd been dating for a couple of months in Las Vegas. But when their parents, Aaron's parents and Sierra's parents, learned that Aaron and Sierra were planning on running away together to Los Angeles, well, parents were not too keen on that really at all. That was no good. So in December of 2020, the parents decided maybe they should be forbidden from seeing each other, and as not keen the parents were on them running away, Sierra and Aaron were even less keen on them being forbidden to see each other and being kind of forced to be apart. So, yeah, after that, fast forward to the 8th of April 2021, literally 1 month before Aiden Fucci and Tristan Bailey went for a walk halfway across the country.
Almost done, and Sierra's almost done, and Daddy's almost done, and where'd Dana's go? What?
Bye!
That day, a Thursday, Bogdana noticed she was checking the bank accounts, and she noticed hundreds of dollars being withdrawn from a bank account she still shared with Daniel. Now, the reason, even though they were divorced for 2 years at this point, Bogdana and Daniel still shared a bank account, as they shared some debts, essentially. So they'd both chuck in some change. And she was like, what's going on here? She texted Daniel and then called him. She got no answer from her text or from her calls from Daniel Halstead about why he was taking money out of their account. Christine, Daniel's mother, she then tried to call Daniel and text him to absolutely no response that same day. The next morning, the 9th of April, Christine this time called and texted Sierra, basically demanding to speak with Daniel. But Sierra said he was in the shower, feeling very much that this was not right and that something was up. Christine, then getting really worried, she called a woman named Peggy Newman, who was Daniel's landlord, asking her to go over and check at the house, check what's going on.
How may I help you?
Yeah, hi, I need a welfare check. I don't know if
On who are we doing a welfare check?
for my son. He's been missing for 2 days. His work's called. His family's called, I've called, his ex-wife's called, and there's nobody answering the phone, and there's nothing. Nobody can get a hold of him, and then his work called, and they can't get a hold of him, and it's really, really, he just doesn't act like this.
Okay. Does he live alone?
He lives with his 16-year-old daughter, who is not answering the phone.
Okay.
Or replying to a text.
Mm-hmm.
And the weird part is, I'll just tell you this, there's been ATM withdrawals at 3 different ATMs.
It was some hours later that she actually arrived, and there, well, Peggy and a friend entered through the unlocked front door. The key was sticking out of the lock. The living room smelled strongly of smoke, and it appeared a large area had been set on fire. The house was empty, and they called out to...
The house was set on fire. This young girl, because that's what the reason they're talking about the teen, right? I ain't revealing anything that was the things called these teens commit the most evil acts. We can assume the teen girl did it. She set the house on fire. What the hell?
To no response, and going through the home, they would find Daniel Halseth's remains by the garage door. His body had been dismembered and burnt. They immediately called the police, and searching the place they found knives, a circular saw, and a chainsaw in the home, and no sign of Sierra.
Fire or medical?
How's it a dead body? Oh my God, 8417 Dunphy Court. 8417 Dunphy Court.
Do you need police, fire, or medical?
There was a fire, and we went in to investigate. The fire must be a couple days old. But there's a dead body in the garage. We just found him with the homeowner that doesn't live here.
Okay, and you're in there right now?
Blood was found throughout the home. As you can imagine, blood found on those saws. And it was determined, the medical examiner, when examining Daniel's burnt body, would determine he'd been cut, slashed, stabbed over 70 times. That had happened, then his body was...
Jesus Christ, why is everyone just stabbing people so many times? What the hell? What's wrong with people? This man is a father. What's wrong with you?
Put inside of a sleeping bag. They attempted to dismember his body, and then when they couldn't do that, they lit it on fire and tried to burn down the house to essentially cover everything. None of which were successful. It would later be determined that on the 8th of April, the day before he was found, in the early morning hours, Aaron had run away from his home and gone to a Home Depot near the Halseth house, where he met Sierra. Together, they bought a circular saw, blades, bleach, lighter fluid, and then went to Sierra's house. And then, we can only assume that that morning on the 8th of April, they viciously attacked Daniel, stabbing him and slicing him, attempting to cut up his body, attempting to burn his body before withdrawing hundreds of dollars from his bank account, from the joint bank account he had with Bogdana. They then fled to Salt Lake City, Utah, posting this along the way.
I don't know what to say.
Welcome back to our YouTube channel. After Day 3 after murdering somebody.
Whoa! Don't put that on camera.
It was worth it.
And we had sex a lot today.
It was worth it. I got plenty of sex. So I was payment for doing it.
And no bleeding this time. We got through that. We overcame.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Fuck, this video really makes my skin crawl. It's like cringy but disturbing at the same time. They were eventually tracked down in Salt Lake City after they used the light rail system in the downtown area without paying for tickets. The officers did a background check on them and, well, found arrest warrants had been issued for them both. They were both charged with the murder of Daniel Halseth, among other charges, 9 in total, and both Sierra and Aaron pleaded not guilty. Both were charged as adults.
We've learned 16-year-old Sierra Halseth is in juvenile hall, according to Metro Police, and her boyfriend, 18-year-old Aaron Guerrero, is at the Clark County Detention Center. They were taken into custody in Salt Lake City, Utah 10 days ago after Metro Police say they were on the run. They both face a murder charge.
Guilty or not guilty? Not guilty. Not guilty.
But back...
Your both asses are so guilty, it's unbelievable. You're guilty.
However, they would later change their plea about a year later and plead guilty to all charges. Now, they were both charged as adults. I mean, Aaron, he was 18, so he was an adult. Sierra was 16, but she was charged as an adult. And it's believed they both changed their plea to guilty so that Aaron could avoid getting the death penalty.
Ms. Halstead, in accordance to the laws of the state of Nevada, you're going to be adjudicated guilty on count 1, conspiracy to commit murder. Count 2, first-degree murder with use of a deadly weapon. On count 2, you're going to be sentenced to life in the Nevada Department of Corrections with the possibility of parole after 20 years has been served. On count 2, you're going to be sentenced to life in the Nevada Department of Corrections with the possibility of parole after 20 years has been served. Plus,
They were both sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 22 years.
And here we are with little Sierra Bob. Right, Sierra? Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. And she's got her pink towel. She just got out of the shower.
And I'm saying hi.
And there's Jordan. And he's saying hi, right, Jordan?
Yay.
And the kitties have been helping Daddy. Nice.
Why did they do this? I mean, why do any of them? Why do any of them do it? A psychologist would say, that they didn't understand, as you can see in the video, there was some weird relationship going on between the two of them. They didn't understand the severity of their actions.
BS. No. You don't stab someone and light them on fire not knowing the severity of their actions. They knew damn well what these actions would cause. They knew.
The social media world, that's fucking everybody up. And Sierra and Aaron would also claim that Daniel was abusive towards her, when literally everybody else would say that's complete bullshit. And you can see from social media, he seemed like his kids were his life. He was an incredibly loving father. Now I know, obviously, social media is bullshit, really, rather. Social media is bullshit, but, he seems like he was a great dude anyway. Seems like he was a very proud and loving dad. Only Aaron would apologize, at sentencing. Aaron, who said, he had mental health issues. He wasn't taking his medication at the time, and he'd been on LSD.
She got the weapon first, and, I always carry a weapon, so...
Whose idea was it to commit the murder?
I would say it was both of our ideas, because we didn't know exactly what we were going to do, but we knew we had to do something about it, and it turned out
The teens claim 45-year-old Daniel Halseth abused and mistreated his daughter, while Daniel's family says this is 100% false.
But I do think that whatever happened, why ever Sierra did this, there probably was something going on underneath the surface. The judge picked up on it during the custody hearing, that something had happened or was happening to Sierra.
I am concerned with regard to what has happened, with regard to the lack of contact between the child and the mother, and certainly I don't know who's to blame at this point in time. But I saw a lot of things with regard to Sierra that causes me some concerns. Her inconsistency in the stories, depending on who she's talking to and when, comparing her interview with the Family Mediation Center with her interview with Child Protective Services, it indicates to me that something else is going on with Sierra. I don't know yet what that is, whether that's parental alienation, whether that's human trafficking, whether that's manipulation, and I don't know who at this point is to blame for that, but I'm less concerned about placing blame than I am with regard to this child and a child's relationship with a parent.
Sierra herself would claim she'd been abused by Daniel.
Yeah, my biological father has traumatized me. Trauma that I still have to work through every day.
I don't believe her. I don't believe her. It's... Judging by the story of what I know, it does not... I don't believe that. At all. I feel like she's just crazy and just was so obsessed with this stupid-ass dude. She just... fucking killed her father just to be with him, and then somehow thought they wouldn't actually get caught.
I've never had any problems, and I've always been a positive influence. But when my biological father took control of my life, I've never felt so lost. My biological father abused and neglected me. Not only did he hit me and put his hands on me, but he shaved me, touched me, sexualized me, molested me, slapped me, kissed me.
I don't believe her. I don't believe. Tell you can't actually believe this. No human being could.
Well, as letting others do the same. He's a very vulgar and sexual guy.
As would Elizabeth tweet it. But was that what, really happened? Or was there something else? Some kind of manipulation? I don't know, was this just an invented excuse? Or was it real? Though when that part of the story came out, or was alleged by both Elizabeth and Sierra, it definitely makes some of these videos, turn your stomach.
And here we are with little Sierra Bob. Right, Sierra? Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. And she's got her pink towel. She just got out of the shower.
But listen, who knows? Perhaps we never will, unless there's some kind of tell-all story. But at the end of the day, any story that does come out will only ever be half of it. Because the other half, no matter what he did, if indeed he did do anything, he suffered a terrible fate at the hands of a daughter he supposedly loved very much. And there you have it, folks. 2 stories of twisted teens committing just unspeakable acts of violence. And for what? The community in Florida remains Tristan Bailey strong. The loss of such a young, credible person will leave an indelible mark on the community. What Sierra and Aaron did, I think is unthinkable to most, yet they managed it. They somehow pulled it off. I often wonder what's going through these people's minds when they're doing in these stories when they're doing what they did. And psychologists will try to explain, this is what they were thinking, but I think you can't. You can't wonder about what was going through their heads because it's completely alien to what a regular, normal person would be thinking. It's like trying to imagine, what the dog is thinking when you wonder what would be going through their heads that would drive them to do this. It's an impossible thing to do, really, in my mind. A lot of these people, because it's just so horrific and alien to, I think, the normal human experience of being able to, like Sierra, chopping up her own dad. Well, after stabbing him to death, putting him in a sleeping bag, and then burning his body. The guy who raised you, who lived with you. You can do something as horrific as that. What Agent Fucci did to Tristan Bailey, an incredibly young, loving, young teen. What was going through his head? Fucking fire and demons. That's the only thing I can think that must have been going through his head. That or nothing at all. These horrific acts are just so alien, I think, to normal people. But not alien enough, I fear. As always, please let me know your thoughts on these cases.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this reaction video. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. I will see y'all for the next one.